Welcome back to Combat Sports Weekly. You are now entering the roundtable. Each one of these guys will have 30 seconds to give their thoughts on 3 topics that I'll be handing out. No worries, guys. Jody isn't here, so you will not be abused. Let's jump right into the roundtable. Introducing first, he's a mixed martial artist hailing out of Roswell originally and now fighting out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. 8-1 record, been dominating recently. Andres Quintana, it's a pleasure to have you, man.
Thank you for having me on here.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for sticking around. We had you earlier in the show, of course. To his right, here on the screen, James Lindemuth, 6'10", the sports animal. Where can people tune in?
6:10 a.m. Every Thursday, 5:35. Strictly MMA, strictly boxing. It's something that we're passionate about.
Yeah. To his right, Micah Frankel. Micah, welcome back.
I missed you. It's glad to see you.
You were missed. Welcome back. Again, cageminds.com. This is where people can catch you.
Right.
What's the website? Cageminds?
Cageminds.com.
There you go. Go ahead and promote that. So let's jump right into it, guys. Luke Rockhold was dominant in his victory over Lyoto Machida. Chris Weidman had a few words as a special guest analyst on Fox Sports 1, saying that he didn't feel Rockhold was really an expert in anything. Micah, let's throw this one to you. What do you think about his comments?
He looked very expert at submissions lately. Machida, Bisbing, Boach, inverted triangle, one-arm guillotine, manhandling Machida. He looks like a very solid grappler, and we've seen that his big body kicks, that big frame that he has at middleweight, he's a strong, fast, complete fighter. May not be technically a wrestler like Weidman, great at one thing, but very great skill set.
Pick a winner if Rockhold and Weidman were to fight within the next year.
I feel like a prisoner of the moment if I said Rockhold. Weidman, the champ, he hasn't lost yet, and that holds a lot of weight.
James, what do you think of the comments? And of course, a victor there between if the guys were to meet.
You know, the comment, again, doesn't surprise me, and maybe Andres could speak to this a little better than I am, but I think that, you know, fighting is a certain percentage mental and a certain percentage physical and preparation. And so what's Weidman doing? He's starting to poke and try to get into his head. Say they do get to fight, and then it's in the back of Rockhold's head, his comments, and he doesn't prepare as he should, or he's not ready as he should be. I've got Weidman, just anybody that beats Anderson Silva that way twice, I'm not going to pick against him.
Yeah. Andres, you know, at the very end, we saw the Jacare type crawl at the very end, you know, looking like an alligator. Was it a shot at Jacare?
Yeah, I think he believes he's going to be next. You know, that's going to be the #1 contender spot, and that will probably be who gets the next title shot at Weidman.
Yeah. Who would be the winner between Rockhold and Jacare? Of course, a rematch of a fight that happened a couple of years ago.
Yeah, Rockhold's been looking amazing. It's hard to go against him, so I'd have to say Rockhold.
Yeah, and you know, I think you might be right there. Just to, I guess, take Jody's time since she's not here. Both guys have looked impressive. I think Rockhold, if he were to continue to develop victory, this might sound weird, but if Rockhold were to ever win the championship and let's say beat Chris Weidman, I think he'd be a bigger superstar than Chris Weidman currently is. I just don't know why. Maybe it's, you know, the fact that you know the ladies love him, guys want to be him, kind of thing. But I mean, I don't see how he would beat Weidman. I mean, the fight. If Rockhold, fought like Belfort, okay, that might be something that's interesting, but I don't know. I just don't see it. I don't see it at all.
He did it once, he could do it again.
Yeah, no, he totally could. Another fighter that I want to bring up, Demetrious Johnson, of course, fights Saturday night on what a lot of us feel is a weak pay-per-view card. James, I'll go to you. Do you feel the UFC is doing this guy a disservice, or is he just a product of, just bad luck a lot of the times of the cards not being stacked because of injuries or?
Well, I mean, he hasn't done anything, at least that I know of, and that we've read about, to really upset UFC management, whether it be Dana White or the Fertittas or or Silva. So I think it may be just a product of some unfortunate timing for him, because the guy seems to be a good ambassador of the sport. His fights are entertaining, so I don't see why they wouldn't try to promote him. So again, I think sometimes you just get unlucky, and he seems to be having a string of that sort of thing with the fighters on his cards, not himself.
Yeah. Andres, I'll bring up a quote that he recently said. He said, the UFC, or this, to paraphrase, says, is the only sport that blames athletes for promotional failures. Did you ever feel that you were blamed for, whether it be a lag of tickets or something like that by past promoters? And do you feel that's fair for him to say against the UFC?
I think I've never been blamed, but I can see where he's coming from. I think the UFC doesn't give him enough undercard, but I mean, you do have to sell yourself. I agree. You got to be a fan favorite and be able to sell yourself, and
No, I completely agree. Micah, is the return of Rampage Jackson going to put this over 300,000 pay-per-view sales by any chance?
I don't know what the exact numbers are, but if you're a hardcore fan, you got to understand this card is not a weak card. Rampage, Bisping, Mighty Mouse, Thomas Almeida, 17-0 from Brazil. That kid is a bantamweight on the rise. Someone to watch out for. Shane Campbell, John McDessie, 3 knockouts. McDessie, a great striker. It is an entertaining card.
Yeah, and as far as card, maybe I'm guilty for saying that it's a weak card without mentioning a lot of those up-and-comers that are coming up. But as far as star value, I don't think a lot of unknown guys or underground guys that are making it ultimately really benefit Demetrious Johnson. You know, it's really unfortunate that a couple of fights fell through, but nonetheless, I mean, we cannot knock this guy's talent. I mean, he's been dominating. I believe this is his 6th defense of the title, so that should carry a lot of weight.
It should carry a lot of weight, but you don't even see Xbox, his one sponsor, putting his face out everywhere. If they don't do it, the UFC is not going to do it. Pettis made a way bigger star without any fights than Demetrious Johnson has done wrecking a division.
Then that's a great point. So,
to be fair, though, like there is no bad card to Micah.
Yeah, yeah, that is true.
MMA nut. I will watch any fight.
We'll go off to the next topic. UFC, changing the Reebok payouts, if you will. Originally, it was based off of rankings. Now it's based off of how your experience within the octagon itself. What do you think of that? Do you think that's more fair, or do you think, say for example, someone like Holly Holm, who has a different contract, of course, wouldn't necessarily benefit from that because she only has one fight. How do you feel about that?
Of course, but I think you have to put your time in to, reap the rewards. So I believe it's pretty fair. The people that have been with the UFC for a long time, they have, time in, and they're gonna, get paid well for that.
Yeah, and I think that is pretty fair of something like that happening. Did you think it was pretty unfair that they had before?
Yeah, I thought so. By rankings, a lot of guys get screwed. They don't get top fights or any star power, so they can't rise in the rankings sometimes.
Yeah. James, same question to you.
Well, it's a business, and I think that's an ugly fact that a lot of hardcore MMA fans like myself and everybody try to avoid sometimes. But at the end of the day, there's a bottom line. There's a dollars and cents portion to this, and violence sells. That's what sells this sport is violence. If you go out there and you have a whole bunch of really really close decisions that don't have a ton of action, well then chances are you're not going to get those sponsorship dollars. And is it an ugly fact? Yeah, but is it a fact? Absolutely.
Micah, you're probably more up to date than any of us on this. What are your thoughts?
Oh, this is great. You got to just look no further than the last UFC fight night in Poland with Gonzaga fighting Crow Cop. Gonzaga had just his gym sponsoring him in a main event of a UFC fight, while undercards that were local nationals had sponsor full of shorts. So this is great for a guy like him, a veteran who is going to be on a fight night where his local businesses aren't going to get to sponsor him. Now he gets a just piece of the pie for the work that he's put in.
Yeah, and I think that's what's best. A lot of these guys you mentioned, the close decisions, the close losses, whatever it might be. If a guy, loses 3 split decisions or 4 split decisions in a row, or majority decisions, let's say, they ultimately get screwed because they're not going to move up in the rankings or into the rankings. So
absolutely.
It favors situations like that, which aren't too common, but nonetheless still come up. There are a lot of people that jump in, for example, the Holly Holm instance that I brought up. A lot of people might feel unfair that, hey, she fought one fight and now is ranked in the top 10. She's going to be more making than me, more money than I am. And I'm 13, 14, 15 fights deep with this organization for the last 8 years.
True.
But it'd be interesting. I'm glad. I think they finally got it right and moved to the right path. But again, guys, it was fun. 3 topics. We ran right through them, all MMA. But next week is where we will be previewing, the biggest fight of the year with Floyd Mayweather against Manny Pacquiao. So make sure you guys stay tuned. Check our Facebook page for updates. But until next time, Combat Sports Weekly, stay tuned.